Are we live yet? Hello everyone, welcome to Physics Wala English YouTube channel. How are you all doing? I can see a couple of comments already. Hello. How many of you all are droppers here? Herbarium keys, none of the taxonomical aids are there for the upcoming NEET exam. We'll discuss the syllabus as well. Hi Praveen, good morning. Hi Vimal. Hi Pranav. Of course, there'll be a lot of students from Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, North, everywhere. Akib, what batch link are you talking about? This is a free batch and it's going to go live on YouTube. We are going to be covering all the subjects, physics, chemistry, mathematics, botany and zoology. Sorry, not mathematics. And it's going to go on for about 50 days where we'll be covering the entire syllabus, giving you summary of the theory as well as solving PYQs. Just give me a moment. I'm not able to see the comments properly. Kishmar is from Meghalaya. Hi. Herbarium key, not there for this exam. Good morning, everyone again. Notes bhi milega. Whatever sessions we're conducting right now, you are going to get the notes for these sessions in about 2 to 3 hours after the session has been completed. All you have to do is click on the description of every video, check the pin comment, or you're going to get your class notes right there. All right. Yes, Roger. We heard your requests and we have this batch for you. All right. So I think we have a lot of students joined from different parts of India. Welcome to your first session of NEET 50 Days Challenge. I usually see a lot of students attending the first session, but usually as time proceeds, people lose interest and they stop attending classes. How many of you here are droppers and NEET 2024 is your last bet at NEET? Let me know. Mazi Pad, I think that's how your name is pronounced. Apologies if I've pronounced it incorrectly. We are going to be teaching the entire syllabus and solving questions as well. For the most part, most of our sessions are aimed to, get over in 3 hours. But for some shorter chapters, smaller chapters, it might be less than 3 hours. For chapters that are very lengthy, it might extend 3 hours also. Yes. So many of you all are droppers. There are a couple of 20-25 NEET aspirants as well. Great. Regardless of where you're from, if you can understand English, these batches are going to help you a lot. So since this is your first session and since I'm sure a lot of you are droppers here, I want to start today's session with a story. How many of you here would like to listen to a story? How many of you would want to listen to a story? Story time? Yes, let me know in the comment section. Okay, some of your first attempt, it's all right. Namaskara Pranav. Hi Prajwal, yes, I do speak Kannada. All right. So this is a story about a man. A man is walking inside a forest, right? So it's been, let's say he starts walking in a very arid area. He cannot find any water there. He's walking through it kilometers and he's not able to find water at all. He's very tired. And by chance, in the middle of the desert, he finds a garden. He just walks into the garden and in the center of the garden, he finds a big, huge tree with a very wide canopy. And he decides he's walked enough and he's very tired and he'll just think of maybe I should just lie down under this tree for a little while. And he just lies down under the tree. And the moment he's under the tree, he will think, I'm really tired. I wish I could drink some juice or something that could, quench my thirst. And the moment he thinks about it, every fruit juice that was in his mind will appear right in front of him. And he'll be so tired that he will not wonder about where it came from. He just picks up whatever he wants and drinks it. Now he's quenched his thirst. The next moment, he thinks about, I'm also feeling a little hungry. I wish there was some good food nearby. Immediately after he thinks about that, the best spread ever appears in front of him. And he starts eating it. And then he's resting under the same tree. And then he realizes, what if there's some sort of ghost that is making all of this, that is bringing all of this to me? How could someone possibly read what I'm thinking? It's probably a ghost. What if it comes and kills me? The next moment, you won't believe it, a ghost appears right in front of him and kills him. The story here is about the tree called Kalpavriksha. I don't know if you all have heard about it. Kalpavriksha is a tree that will give you anything that you wish for. And the person was sitting under the Kalpavriksha. In today's times, a Kalpavriksha tree might not exist, but there is a even more powerful Kalpavriksha in all of us, in our minds. If you put your mind to anything, you can make it happen, right? Most students don't crack NEET in the first attempt because they don't believe in themselves. They would have struggled for 2 long years studying every concept because of lack of self-belief, because of a very low self-worth. They don't end up cracking NEET. I want you, if you're one of them, I want you to realize that you have the potential within you. Believe in yourself. Follow the series as much as enthusiasm that I'm seeing today. I want you to have the same enthusiasm on the 50th day as well. Go with us. We are putting in a lot of effort to create these series and bring them to you. So I hope every one of you makes use of it and, achieve your maximum potential by thinking good thoughts and utilizing whatever material you're getting. All right. So let me know in the comment section right now, what is your wish from your Kalpavriksha that you need for your NEET 2024? I want to know the exact marks that you're expecting in your NEET exam. Drop it down in the comment section and say, I promise I will achieve it. Write it down in the comments right now. Amina, I'm glad that you're excited. I hope this excitement stays till the end of the session. Most often what happens is, people are excited in the beginning, but then somehow the excitement dwindles down. Most people comment in our video saying that I don't feel motivated. I know I should do it, but I'm not able to find the motivation. At least for droppers, I can tell you, parents in India are not very progressive. Despite that, if your parents have allowed to take you a drop year and not forced you into getting admission into some college that you don't like, you must do it for them. All right? Not everybody gets a second chance. Just think of your result day. Looking at the result, do you want to see joy on your parents' face or do you want to bring them disgrace? The choice is with you. All right? So make maximum use of whatever we are doing right here, whatever names I'm seeing right now. I want to see all these names on the 50th day as well. How many of you all are with me on this? Yes, as long as you're trying your best, I'm sure, leave rest to the God, He will take care of it. Many of you all are saying 720. It's all right if you have not scored 720 in your entire life. It's all right if you have not, got out of marks in your entire life, but it's possible, right? For that, what do we need? We need commitment, we need discipline, we need grit, all right? So I think that's enough motivation for today. Hopefully, all of you will get whatever marks you have written in the comments. Brilliant, brilliant. Hello, Alam from Bangladesh. All right. All right. So I think we're ready for today's session. I want to tell you one thing, one instruction before we start off. Do not spam. Do not, treat all your peers. Everybody is here to learn. If somebody is asking a doubt that might seem silly, do not bully them. Be polite, be kind to each other. And let's get started with our first chapter, which is the living world. So what are we going to do in today's class? We're going to summarize the entire chapter and also discuss a couple of multiple choice questions based on these topics. All right. Kumud is asking if it's possible to crack NEET from zero. It is possible. I will not say it's impossible. You still have time. But what are you willing to sacrifice for your dream? Will you let go of your social media addiction? Will you let go of every distraction and behave like your life depends on that NEET? In that case, it is possible. There are more than 20 lakh students writing NEET for just a little above 1 lakh seats, right? So there's a huge competition. If you are willing to give your 100%, then there's nothing can prevent it. There's only 1% between you and your goal, and that is you, yourself, right? So if you remove all the distractions, it's 100% possible. All right. So enough gyan, let's get started with today's session. You may have seen how the NEET syllabus this year has been updated. NMC had released a notification on October 6th last year. According to that, many students are confused whether they should study from the old syllabus, whether they should study from the new NCERT textbook. I would suggest for this chapter, you study from the old NCERT textbook. In the old NCERT textbook, there is a concept called what is living, which has been deleted in your rationalized syllabus. But in the NEET syllabus, this is there. So if you want to access this notes, you should study from your old NCERT. All right. So yeah, what are the things that we're going to discuss in this chapter? What is living? Biodiversity. Why should we classify living organisms? What is taxonomy and systematics? Concept of species, taxonomical hierarchy, binomial nomenclature, and all of that. All right. So let's get started. At the beginning of every unit, you will have information about a scientist who has done research related to that concept. Okay. Usually children tend to skip that. But over the past few years, we have seen that questions related to scientists' contribution have also been asked in NEET. One such scientist is Ernst Mayr. Here, about this scientist and their contribution to biology and taxonomy is given at the beginning of this particular unit, Diversity in the Living World. It's good if you remember the important points about it. What are those important points? You're going to get all of it right here, right? What can you not see clearly? Of course, you can use this series for revision as well. All right, so let's get started. Ernst Mayr, about his contributions, a question was asked in 2016, I suppose. So who is Ernst Mayr? He is a scientist who was born on the 5th of July in Germany. These dates when he was born are not so important. Let's talk about his contribution. He has contributed so much to biology because of which he is also regarded as the Darwin of 20th century. All of you must remember this point, okay? And he is one of the greatest scientists of all time. Currently, we have accepted a definition of biological species. He is the person to have pioneered that particular definition. Okay? He got awarded 3 prizes which are highly renowned in biological sciences in the research field. He got all 3 of them. It's called the Triple Crown of Biology. Which are those prizes? Which are those awards? And when did he receive them? Let's take a look at that. The first one is the Balzan Prize in the year 1983. The second one is the International Prize for Biology in the year 1994. And the third one is the Crawford Prize in the year 1999. So these are a couple of things that you will have to remember. Priya, yes, this series covers the whole syllabus. Don't give trolls attention. Don't give them attention. They don't deserve it. Okay? Listen to the session. That's what you're here for. Do not look at the comments unless you have a doubt to ask. Pay attention to what I'm saying. That's all. Don't look at the spammers. Don't give them attention. Okay. So, let's begin by talking about what is living. Now, what is living? How can you differentiate between a living organism and an inanimate, non-living object? How can you differentiate? What are the characters that differentiate me from this board? What am I showing that a non-living object will not show? This is exactly what we are going to learn under this concept. Okay. So, what is living? What are the characteristic features that living organisms exhibit? First of all, It's growth. Living organisms show growth. Secondly, reproduction. Living organisms reproduce in order to help that species continue. Third, metabolism. We all show metabolic reactions. All metabolic reactions happen in every one of our bodies, right? Cellular organization and consciousness. These are 5 points that you will have to remember. All right? Now, let's discuss about them one by one. First, starting with growth. What is growth? Growth basically refers to the increase in size of an organism, right? Size of an object, you can say. Something that was small has grown bigger, that is growth. Now, growth in living organisms can happen in one of 2 ways. You have one cell, and this cell increases in size and it grows. This is increase in cell size. Another way is you have one cell. This cell divides, giving rise to 2 cells. Here again you see growth, but that is in terms of number of cells. In the first case, there is an increase in the size of cells. In the second case, there is an increase in the number of cells, right? So, words aren't clear. What I'm saying is not clear, or what is on the board is not clear. Is anybody else facing the same issue? Avnish, I wish we had enough time to write everything in hand, but right now we are short on time. NEET is fast approaching. We have to finish the syllabus and also solve MCQs, because of which I will not be able to write every point on the board. You're going to get the same thing as notes. I put in a lot of effort in creating these so that they are visually appealing and that registers better in your head. So that's the reason why everything is in the form of flow charts and points mostly. Okay, no one else is facing that issue. Whoever was finding difficulty in listening, please check your internet connection and move to a place that has better connectivity. You're asking about the notes. Notes you will get in the same video's description after the class is over. Probably after 1 or 2 hours, you will be able to find it there. All right, board is not clear. What do you mean? It's looking very clear to me. Check your internet connection. All right. So, yeah. Growth can happen because of 2 things. One, increase in size of the cell or increase in the number of cells. A cell can only increase in size to an extent. You do not see unicellular organisms that are this big, right? So, a cell cannot increase beyond an extent. Once the cell increases in size, you've learnt about it in cell cycle and cell division. When the nuclear cytoplasmic ratio gets disturbed, the cell will undergo cell division and the number of cells will increase, right? So, growth most usually is because of cell division. When we talk about growth, we talk about it in terms of 2 things. Firstly, an increase in mass. The size is increasing. And secondly, increase in the number of individuals. In all organisms, growth happens by cell division. We all started our life as a single cell zygote, right? Right now we have trillions of cells. How did that happen? That happened because one cell divided and gave rise to 2, 2 divided gave rise to 4, and so on. That's how we have so many cells. So because cell division happened, we have grown, right? So in unicellular organisms, if you have to consider, in unicellular organisms, organism is made up of a single cell. One cell divides, 2 cells form. Over here, cell division is how growth is happening. Cell division is how reproduction also is happening. So in unicellular organisms, we can say that growth and reproduction are synonymous. What do we mean by synonymous? They are the same thing. When cell division happens, there is growth happening. When cell division is happening, reproduction is also happening. What about multicellular organisms? In multicellular organisms, growth happens by cell division, but reproduction is an entirely different event that takes place. Growth and reproduction in multicellular organisms are not synonymous. Okay, so they are mutually exclusive. Mutually exclusive means they are not the same thing, right? They are 2 separate events. So in multicellular organisms, how does growth happen? By cell division. In plants, you've learnt about meristematic tissues. There are a couple of tissues in plants that retain the ability to divide throughout their life, because of which in plants we see growth happening throughout the life. Leaves fall, new leaves form. There is growth happening throughout the life of plants. But in animals, growth happens only up to a certain age. This is the difference between how growth happens in multicellular organisms, plants and animals. What's the difference here and here? So, we say that in animals, growth is determinate or definite. In plants, it is indefinite. Alright? So, this is something that you should remember about growth. AV is asking the same question again, if it's possible. Anything is possible. Are you willing to sacrifice all the distractions for that? You have to ask that question to yourself. Alright? Okay, so let's continue. Now, growth, like we already saw, is an increase in the body mass. Do non-living things, inanimate objects, can they grow? Can they show an increase in mass? Of course they can. Can you give me some examples? Mountains show growth, increase in mass. Boulders show increase in mass. Snowball, as it rolls down the snow, it will pick up more snow and it will increase in mass. So does sand dunes. Sand dunes are these mounds of sand that you see in deserts. According to which direction the wind is moving in, sand dunes will accumulate more material on top of it and show an increase in mass. So non-living objects or things that don't show signs of life also are capable of increasing in mass. So, though living organisms show growth in terms of cell division, because of cell division, non-living objects also can show an increase in size, but the difference here is that in non-living objects, if there is an increase in mass, it's going to be because of substances getting accumulated on the outside. A snowball was this small, it started rolling down the snow. On the way, it has picked up more and more snow and become a bigger ball. That means accumulation has happened on the outside. There was a sand dune that was kind of not so tall, but more wind blew away more sand towards that region. It has accumulated more and more sand on top of it and increased in size. So, what will that be? That will be accumulation of material on the outside. When we grow, when a little boy becomes an adult, what is happening? Are we accumulating materials on our surfaces? Are we accumulating material on the outside? No. In living organisms, growth happens intrinsically. The cells inside of us will grow and increase in number, and that is what will contribute to the growth, right? So, in living organisms, it happens from the inside, right? So, growth cannot be considered as a defining property. Growth cannot be taken as a defining property of living organisms. Now, what is a defining property? Defining property of living organisms is when it happens only in living organisms and it is true for all living organisms. In that case, we can consider it as a defining property or a defining feature. For any characteristic of growth, if it is true for all living organisms and if it is happening only in living organisms and not seen in inanimate objects, then we can say that it is the defining property of life or of living organisms. Here, of course, all living organisms show growth. They increase in number, they grow in size, but growth can also be seen in inanimate objects, which is why growth is a characteristic feature of life, but it is not a defining feature. Alright, I hope this is clear. Any doubts so far? What was your question again? I'm sorry, there were too many questions I could not see. Every day the classes is going to be from 11 to 2 in the first half, and in the evening it's going to be from 5 to 8. The timetable, I guess, is uploaded as a community post on this YouTube channel, so you can take a look at it after the class. Weekly timetable will be uploaded, so you can prepare accordingly. Is it clear till now? Thanks, Sanika. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Rohan Singh, you can go for your break. While you go for your break of 10 minutes, remember that 127 other students are going to go 10 steps ahead of you. Choice is yours. It is a characteristic of living systems because, yeah, we say that this is a characteristic of living organisms because obviously dead people cannot grow, right? So that's about growth. Now let's understand reproduction. About reproduction, we've been learning since our lower grades. What does reproduction means? Re means again. So reproduction is basically a process where young ones are produced and the features of young ones are more or less going to be similar to the parents, right? So that is what reproduction is. It is the production of progeny. We're using fancy terms now. In lower grades, we would say young ones, but now we're saying progeny and offspring. That's the only difference. Reproduction is the production of progeny possessing features more or less similar to that of parents. We just saw in the previous slide that in unicellular organisms, growth and reproduction are synonymous. The entire organism itself is made of a single cell. So if it has to make another cell, obviously it has to undergo division. Only when it divides, another cell can be added, right? So cell division will ensure growth as well as reproduction in unicellular organisms. Now, reproduction in unicellular organisms, we're not going to discuss any further. How does reproduction happen in multicellular organisms? If you take the example of advanced plants and animals, you know that sexual reproduction will take place. And during sexual reproduction, there is formation of gametes, there's fusion of gametes, and because there is formation of gametes and meiotic cell division happening, the offspring are not going to be exactly like the parents, there's going to be a little bit of difference. If you talk about asexual reproduction, in some organisms, in lower organisms, we also see asexual reproduction. How does asexual reproduction happen? It can happen in multiple ways. More about it you will learn in your upcoming chapters. For now, let's just take a couple of examples. First, asexual spores. Many different types of spores are produced by fungi. You don't have to worry about their names and everything as of now. You're going to learn in detail about it in another chapter called biological classification. So, in fungi, you see the production of spores. In yeast and hydra, yeast is a fungus, hydra is a coelenterates, it's an animal. In both of them, you can see a type of asexual reproduction called budding. In planaria, I'm sure you know what planaria is. It's a flatworm. You may have learnt about it in your lower grades as well. So if you cut a planaria, after a couple of days, both the parts will become two new organisms. Okay, so this is not like the lizard losing its tail and growing its tail. That is not complete regeneration. Here, both the parts will become complete organisms. All right. Fragmentation. Fragment means what? Cut pieces, right? So if something's filamentous, for some reason, there is a filamentous fungus there and you decide to walk on it and it has become two parts. Each part will become a new organism. So that you can see in fungi, in filamentous algae and in protonema of mosses. What are protonema of mosses? You'll learn about it in the chapter Plant Kingdom, right? Thank you, Suma. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Next. Yeah. Now the question is, if we have to say a characteristic of life is a defining property, then what are the two criteria? Every living organism should show that, and it should not be seen in non-living things. Now, do non-living things reproduce? You may have seen in old 90s movies that the hero gives the heroine like one peacock feather and she keeps it inside the book and wait for it to double. But that doesn't happen in reality, right? If I keep this pen over here for 100 years, this is not going to reproduce and give me another pen. So reproduction does not happen in non-living things. Reproduction is a characteristic feature of only living organisms. So one criterion is satisfied. But second criterion, do all living organisms reproduce? Do they? What do you think? What about a mule? Mule is a cross between a donkey and a horse. Whatever offspring you get, that's your mule. It's not capable of reproduction. Does that mean it's dead? Does that mean it's not living? No, it is living, but it's not capable of reproduction. What about certain bees called worker bees? In a honeybee hive, you have female worker bees that are sterile. They don't reproduce. What about some humans that don't want to reproduce? They have chosen not to have children. What about humans that are infertile? They are not capable of having children. Though they are not reproducing, they are still living organisms. So you cannot say that reproduction is a defining characteristic of life. If it has to be a defining characteristic of life, one, every living organism should show that. Secondly, only living organisms should show that. Over here, reproduction, only living organisms are showing, but not all living organisms are showing. So here, this is a characteristic feature, but not a defining feature, right? Yeah, Queen sisters, what is your real name? We can expect about one question from this chapter. Okay. Is this clear? Should we move on? Yeah. The third characteristic is cellular organization. What do we mean by cellular organization? Consider plants, consider animals, consider bacteria, protozoans. Every living organism that we talk about is composed of a cell. All of them have a cell membrane. All of them have cytoplasm inside the cell membrane. There are a couple of organisms. There are a lot of biomolecules interacting and keeping that cell alive, right? So cellular organization is a characteristic feature of all living organisms. So all organisms inclusive of plants, animals, and bacteria, they are all composed of cells. In fact, the reason why we don't consider viruses as cells is because they do not have a cellular organization like other animals. That is one of the reasons why we think it is non-living outside the host, right? So, plants, animals, bacteria, all of them are made up of cells and its components. So, cellular organization is a characteristic feature of life. Is it a defining feature is the question. Let's check the two questions first. First, is cellular organization seen only in living organisms or do we see it in non-living organisms also? It is seen only in living organisms. Second point, do all living organisms show cellular organization? Of course they do. So is this feature of life a defining feature? Of course it is. So cellular organization is the defining feature of living organisms or life forms. Okay, we'll do one thing. I will take all of your questions and answer them. First, we'll finish the teaching part and solving the questions. In the end, we can discuss about what your queries are, what are your concerns and all of that. Okay, how to study one chapter for NEET, you're a beginner, how to memorize the lines, we'll get to that. I will answer all of your questions. Now what happens is if I'm in the middle of teaching and I start answering your questions, the flow will break for the students and for me also. So, I will definitely answer all of your questions regarding preparation, time management and all of that. But before that, let's focus on understanding this concept and seeing what kind of questions we can expect from this chapter. Is that clear? Chiranjeevi, if your screen is blur, I think the problem is with the internet connection. You can go to the settings and check what resolution you want. You can increase the resolution. Or if there's no internet, go find a place where there is better internet connectivity. Okay. I hope you've understood this. All right, so let's move on. Next feature is metabolism. What is metabolism? We are living organisms. Inside us, of course in biology we're learning about living organisms, but there's a lot of chemistry happening inside of us. Inside every one of our living cells, constantly chemical reactions are taking place. Something is getting built. For example, amino acids are joining together to become proteins in the ribosome. Simultaneously, in the mitochondria, glucose is getting broken down to produce energy. These are a couple of examples that I'm giving to you. Constantly in our body, in every one of our living cells, there's a lot of chemicals and there are a lot of chemical reactions that are taking place. The total sum of all these reactions that are taking place in our living cells is what we refer to as metabolism. Alright, metabolism means all of the chemical reactions that are taking place inside of our cells. What happens if those chemical reactions fail to occur? We are no more alive. We are alive because of those reactions. So those are called metabolic reactions. Alright, so the sum of all the chemical reactions that are occurring in your body is what we call metabolic reactions. Like I already mentioned, thousands of metabolic reactions are taking place inside our bodies. Again, This is happening in all living organisms. It happens in plants, it happens in animals, it happens in prokaryotes like bacteria. Every living organism has to show metabolic reactions, otherwise it will not be alive, right? So when we ask two questions here, are metabolic reactions seen only in living organisms, or can non-living things exhibit or perform metabolic reactions? We have a question. If we are living organisms, obviously metabolic reactions will be seen. But can non-living objects themselves, have or perform metabolic reactions? That's a question we have. Now, in your textbooks, it's given that metabolic reactions can be performed in vitro. Some of the reactions that are happening inside our body can happen outside a living organism as well. In vitro means it's happening outside the body in laboratory conditions. Some of the reactions that are happening within living organisms can be replicated outside in vitro. Now, if you're performing that reaction in a test tube, because that living reaction is happening in the test tube, does that make the test tube a living organism? It doesn't. So the reaction that is happening is a living reaction, but the test tube is not a living organism. Madhumita? Madhumita, I'm sorry, but you really need to stop spamming. There are a lot of students watching this. I hope you understand. I have no idea about the next NEET batch that will be launched. If you are subscribed to this channel, you will get all of the updates to him. I hope you stop spamming. Okay. Yeah. Let's continue. There are thousands of metabolic reactions that are happening. See, this is what happens. When you're spamming, I lose the flow. And because of one person's, bad influence, a lot of students also can miss out on information. So I hope you understand and be mindful of what you're typing in there. Okay? Unless you have legit doubts related to this concept that I'm teaching right now, please do not spam. It's a very gentle request. Please do not spam. It will bother everybody else. For the rest of you, unless you have doubts, do not look at the comment section. All right? Yeah. So, if there is a metabolic reaction outside the body of an organism that is performed in a test tube, it is a living reaction but not a living organism, right? So, we cannot say it's living or non-living, but the reaction is a living reaction. Therefore, we can say that metabolism is a defining feature of all living organisms without exception. Clear? It happens only in living organisms. It happens in all living organisms, which is why it is the defining feature of all living organisms, right? Okay. Now, let's talk about consciousness. This is the fifth important point that we will have to learn. This is the last characteristic of life that we will be discussing. In lower grades, you may have learnt about the same thing as response to stimuli as one of the characteristic features. Over here, we've kind of made it a little fancy and we're calling it consciousness, right? It's pretty much the same thing. So, we have sense organs and we are capable of sensing our environment and responding to it accordingly. You've learnt about so many examples in lower grades. You put your hand on a hot tawa, then you lift it back because your skin, the skin cells can sense that the temperature is very hot. When it's cold outside, you start to shiver, and we kind of, respond to the stimulus, environmental stimulus that is around us. You might ask, what about plants? And they can't even move. They don't even have sense organs. They don't even have a brain. What about plants? You know that plants move towards sunlight. That is response to sunlight, right? You know that euglena, it has chloroplast, and the cell will always be carried towards a source of sunlight so that it can prepare food by photosynthesis. Everybody, I'm sure, has once or at least once in your life touched a Mimosa pudica plant or a touch me not plant. The moment you touch it, what happens? It responds, it closes. plants depend on flowering. I mean, plants depend on external temperature, how much sunlight, what is the period of sunlight that it's receiving in order to produce flowers. So temperature, sunlight, all of these are external factors, and plants can sense it, can receive that signal, and it can behave accordingly. When the time, when the photo period is suitable, when the temperature is suitable, it will respond by producing flowers. You can see that in bacteria as well. Bacteria interact with its surroundings. It takes up substances from the outside into its cells. It breaks it down, works with it. Entertaining video. What is your name? Vignesh, I think you've joined a little late. I did display a slide at the beginning of the session. This is the exact screenshot from the NMC update. You do have a concept called what is living. It is deleted in the rationalized syllabus, but it's there in your NMC updated syllabus. All right. So, yeah. Consciousness is basically how you interact with your external surroundings and how you respond to it. So, all living organisms, like I mentioned earlier, are capable of it. So, all organisms are aware of their surroundings, right? Humans are the only organisms that are aware of ourselves. We have a self-image, right? So that is called self-consciousness. I'm conscious about myself. I'm aware of myself. Other organisms, if you see a cat or a mouse, it doesn't care about what other mice think of it. A dog doesn't care about what other dogs think of it. But we are not like that. We have a self-image that we try to maintain. We are aware of ourselves. We will be worried about what 10 people will say if you don't crack neat, right? So that is self-consciousness. In dogs and cats and other animals and other organisms, they don't have a sense of self. They're just trying their hard to survive at life, right? So that is the difference between living organisms and non-living things. Very good morning, Ajay. What is your doubt, Sophia? I'm sorry, I think it's skipped. Tuhin, I already answered your question. I hope you please stop spamming. How to prepare for? You're on the wrong channel, Sophia. We are talking about NEET here. I have no idea about JEE. Maybe you should ask some physics, chemistry or mathematics faculty. Okay? Yeah. So, is consciousness a defining property of life or not? Do all organisms show consciousness? Yes, they do. Is this pen a non-living object conscious or not? No, it isn't. So, consciousness is a defining property of living organisms. Is that clear? Now, Manjinder is asking why hill is not living even though it grows. Like I mentioned, the difference between growth in non-living things and living things is in the fact that in non-living, it is superficial. It happens over the surface. But in living organisms, growth happens due to cell division. It happens as a result of cell division. I hope that answers your doubt. Now, I've listed all of the different characteristics that we discussed so far. Among them, growth and reproduction, of course, happen in living organisms, but they are not defining features. There are three defining features, which are cellular organization, metabolism, and consciousness. All right, is it clear so far? No other doubts? Okay, I will take that as a yes. So, what is living now? How do you define living organisms? We can define living organisms in the following way. All in living phenomena that are happening is because of underlying interactions. These are important lines in NCERT that you must read and understand because questions can be asked from these. So all of these lines, they are important, which is why I have copied them exactly as they are without changing anything. All right. So, all right. You can see in living organisms, there are various levels of organization. You have macromolecules like your carbohydrates, proteins, lipids, nucleic acids and all of that. So these macromolecules come together and form a cell. Different cells come together, form a tissue. Different tissues are present in an organ. Different organs come together to form an organ system. Different organ system makes an organism. So these are different levels that you can see. But over here, if you notice, consider a cell. In the cell, you have organelles. In the organelles, you have biomolecules. But whatever function the organelle is capable of, that the biomolecules cannot do. Because of the interaction of those biomolecules, the organelle is able to function as it does. Different organelles help in the functioning of a cell. Whatever property a cell has, its inner components, its smaller components will not have. Talk about tissues. Tissues are composed of similar types of cells in most cases. Tissues will have certain properties, certain features that its individual cells will not have. Organs will have certain features that the tissues will not have. So whatever we are seeing is as a result of interaction that is happening between molecules, between cells, between tissues, right? So if you were to define what living is, you can do that using these lines given to us in NCERT. We can say that living organisms are self-replicating. They're capable of making more of their own kind, self-replicating, evolving. We're constantly evolving and self-regulating interactive systems that are capable of responding to external stimuli. Okay? Vasu Yadav, Tushar sir teaches physics, not chemistry. Yes, we'll get to that point. I'm sorry, I think I forgot about it. Roger is asking, brain dead coma man is a living or non-living who never comes back to normal life. Okay, so let's get discussing about a person who has coma. I'm sure everybody has heard about somebody who has gone to coma or at least watched in movies. What happens in coma is they don't respond to stimuli. Okay, they don't respond to pain. Most cases they don't respond to sounds, external noises. They cannot smell. So there are various stages of coma again. We'll not get into the details of it. But in general, they are not responsive. How do we say that they are still alive? There will be some level of brain activity that is happening. Of course, they can't respond to stimuli, but some level of brain activity is happening. What doctors believe is that if they can kind of help the person breathe with the help of ventilators and systems, over a period of time with the right medication, they have the ability to bounce back at life and become normal. In order for that to happen, they are kept alive using machines. Okay? So, just because they are not showing one of the characteristics of life, which is response to stimuli, you cannot say that they are dead. Because some amount of brain activity is still there, they can be considered living. And you've seen many cases where after several months or several days of coma, the person gets back to being normal also, right? So if that person was dead, if that person was non-living, then there's no way that person could have come back to life, right? Some level of metabolic reactions and brain activity is happening, which is why they're capable of coming back to life. I hope this answers your question. Is it clear, everyone? Is it clear? Manjinder, I'll try. Thanks for pointing it out. Okay, so let's move on. So right now I have a couple of questions lined up. For those of you who are watching these videos for the first time, I'd speak too fast. Okay, I'll try to slow down because we have 3 hours and we have a lot of syllabus to complete. I think subconsciously it's like 2x, it's running in 2x. But yeah, I'll keep that in mind. Okay. Yeah, so I'm going to be displaying some questions on this board. You have to answer them, for which you should have, enrolled in an app called Unity. All you have to do is type whichever option you think is correct. Type just the option in the comment section. Don't write the entire sentence. If it's A, B, C or D, just type it once and leave it. Do not type it 100 times. All right. So I'm going to start displaying the questions. Your answer will be considered here. After that, we can check who has scored maximum, who has answered maximum number of questions correct. Accordingly, there will be a leaderboard as well. All right. So let's get started. Here is our first question for today's session. I'm going to give you like 30 seconds time to answer this. I'm starting my poll. Read the questions carefully and answer it. Consider the following properties and select features for A is bacteria and B is human beings. Which of these features are seen in bacteria? Which of these features are in human beings? You have to identify that. Anushri, D option don't type. Just type A, B, C, D. Otherwise, it may not take it. Okay. Manjinder Singh, I'm a South Indian. My Hindi is not very fluent. Also, this is a pure English batch. So that is why it's entirely in English. Everyone saying D. Let's see. Growth and reproduction are inclusive events. Are growth and reproduction inclusive in both animals, in both bacteria and humans? Inclusive means they are synonymous, they are the same thing. This is true for A but not for B, right? In bacteria they are inclusive, but in multicellular organisms like humans it's not. So this is true for A but not for B. Intrinsic growth, both bacteria and humans show. So this is A and B. Cellular organization is shown both by bacteria and humans. So this is A and B. Multicellular organization is shown only in humans and not in bacteria. Self-consciousness is shown only in humans and not in bacteria, right? So for A, what do we have? For A, we have A, B, C, and for B, we have B, C, D, E. A, B, C and B, C, D, E, which is option C. Many of you would answer it as D. A, B, C, E. Okay, so the confusion point is here, right? This is where you got confused. I told you that consciousness is found in all living organisms, but self-consciousness is found only in humans, right? That was the tricky part in this question. So let's see how many among you have answered this question correctly. C is our correct answer. Wow. Why am I not able to see anything here? Okay, only one student has showed participation. There must be some issue. Have all of you enrolled in Unity? In Unity app, it will take you 1 minute to enroll. Is there a pinned comment in the description where you can see that Unity link? Can you see it? Is there any link here? Let me check. Manjinder, it's not multicellular body organism, it's multicellular body organization. Just give me 1 minute. Just give me 1 minute. I will get that Unity link here so that you can enroll and start answering. Okay? Just give me 1 minute. Everyone's had breakfast? This is a free batch, BB. It's going to be live on YouTube. You don't have to worry about enrolling or anything. Hello, sir. Sir, could you please drop that Unity enrollment link here? I'm not able to see their answers on the Unity thing. They have to enroll, right? Okay, okay. Thank you, sir. Okay, so it's going to be here in just 1 minute. He's on it. How to guess class notes. After the session is over, you can, not immediately after, maybe it'll take 1 or 2 hours. Immediately, I mean not immediately, after 1 or 2 hours, you can go and click on the description. You will see the class notes link. You can click on that and download the PDF. Praveen, I also had breakfast. What did I eat? I ate idli today. I wish it was so easy, Manjinder. There's a lot of nuanced concepts which has to be explained in detail. So, yeah. Okay. Let me see if the link is there. Let me check here if I have started it correctly. Okay, I do see that all of you are here. Let me check if I've turned it on. If there's any error from my end. No, there isn't. Okay, it's happening normally. But I wonder why. Can you see it now? Is it there yet? Hi, Neha. So if you're getting low marks in your mock tests, you have to sit down and analyze why are you getting low marks. Is it because you're getting a lot of negative marking? Is it because your concepts are not clear? Is it because you understand but you can't remember? What is your issue here? You have to identify that, and then we can find solutions. Because some people, they get a lot of questions wrong because they can't remember the concepts properly, or sometimes they have not understood it. If you know what is your issue, then we can find solutions for that. Hi, Kirtika. Somil, I'm doing it from the studio in Bangalore. Parveen, my name is Shalini. Yes, the link is on the pinned comment. Can you all take like 1 minute and click on it and enroll so that we can continue with these sessions? Anurag, you're asking how bacteria are conscious. Yes, conscious. By conscious here we mean that they can sense their surroundings and they respond to it accordingly. Response to stimuli is equivalent to conscious in your textbooks. To enroll, Akash, in the comments section, you click on the pinned comment. There is something called Unity. Click on it and you'll be able to enroll. Hi Guna, I'm South Indian. I'm from Bangalore. Uh, could you all find? Could you all find it? The comments for Unity. I'm going to paste it again here for those of you who could not find it. Yes, Guna, it will be completed. Okay, I hope some of you at least have okay, I don't know if this is correct. Okay. Okay, now let's move on with the next set of questions. Living organisms are, okay. Remember, I put like a couple of stars and told you that this is important. This is based on that. This is based on that concept. Read the questions carefully. It's a lengthy question. It has a lot of statements. Some of you have answered as A and some of you have answered as C. Okay. The question is, living organisms are self-regulating interacting systems and it results in emergent properties at a higher level of organization. In support of this, which of the following is correct? Now over here, I want you to notice statement A and statement B. Both of these are contradicting. Okay. So in statement A, you can see properties of tissues are present in the constituent cells. Statement C, you can see properties of tissues are not present in the constituent cells. So they are both contradicting, right? Both of them can't be true. Whichever option has both A and C, you can right away eliminate it. Over here, you can see A and C are there. You can eliminate that. Here also you have A and C, you can eliminate because they can't both be true because they are contradicting. It can't be present and not present at the same time. In such cases, you can right away eliminate those two options. What are we left with? We have B and C and only C. So for sure C is correct. All we have to do and identify is whether B is true or not true. What is statement B? Properties of cell organelles arise from the molecular constituents of the organelle, which is true, right? Whatever cell organelles properties are, we say that mitochondria produces ATP. Mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. That is the property of mitochondria. How is it coming? That's because of the molecules that are present in it that are interacting, right? So properties of cell organelles arise from the molecular constituents of the organelle. So over here, statement B and statement C both are correct. So the correct answer to this question is going to be option C. Let's see how many of you answer this correctly. For some reason, this is not working. Okay, I'll try to solve the issue hopefully by the next session. For now, let's continue. All right. Here is our next question. Don't bother about the leaderboard today. Santosh, it could be a problem with your internet connectivity. All right. Great going, little boy, if you're correct. It's only the start. We have a lot more questions to follow. Here is a question. I will not run the poll because clearly it's not working. Let's not waste time on it. Whatever is your correct answer, you can drop it in the comments, okay? Here is a statement-based question. Read the following statements and select the correct ones for all living organisms. First, reversible increase in body mass by accumulation of symplastic materials from outside. If material is getting deposited from outside, is it characteristic of living organism? No, it isn't, right? So this is not. Intrinsic growth means growth that is happening from the inside. So this is a characteristic of living organism. Growth and reproduction are mutually inclusive events in multicellular organisms. No, they are not. They are mutually exclusive in multicellular, mutually inclusive in unicellular. So that is incorrect. All non-living objects are capable of replicating themselves. No, they can't. Reproduction is only the property of living organisms. Cellular organization of the body is the defining property. Is it? Yes, it is the defining property of living organisms. So, in the given 5 statements, the only 2 correct statements are statement B and statement E. So, the correct answer to this question is option C. How many of you have answered it correctly? Wonderful. There's a lot of you who have answered this correctly. Alright, so great going. Now let's move on to our next question. This is an interesting question. How many of the given characteristics of living beings are shown by all living organisms? There are a couple of characteristics displayed among them which can be seen in all living organisms. Alright, great. So, reproduction. Do all living organisms reproduce? No, they don't. We saw the examples of sterile worker bees and mules that are not capable of reproduction. So that is not a characteristic feature. that are shown by all living organisms. Second, cellular organization. Yes, cellular organization can be seen in all living organisms. Consciousness? Yes, of course. Self-consciousness? No, that is only found in humans. Metabolism? Yes. Intrinsic growth? Yes. So, among the given properties, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 can be seen in all living organisms. So, the correct answer to this question is option B. Many of you have been answering it as option B. There is some confusion. Some people are saying A and C. I hope after discussing this, it has become clear to you what the correct answer is. Right? Okay. Now let's move on to our next question. Reproduction is synonymous with growth in which organism does growth and reproduction mean the same thing? It is in unicellular organisms only. In the options, you have some organisms mentioned and we have to find out from them which are only unicellular organisms. Praveen, intrinsic growth means growth that happens from the inside. Inside our body, number of cells increase, which is what will contribute to growth. That is intrinsic growth. Extrinsic means like in sand dunes, more sand gets accumulated on top and the sand mound becomes bigger. That is extrinsic. That happens in non-living things. Intrinsic happens in living things. Okay. So, yeah. Let's take a look at this. Reproduction is synonymous with the growth in. Most fungi and planaria, no, because they are multicellular. Desmids, diatoms and protozoans, yes, they are unicellular. Cyanobacteria is unicellular. Fungi and mosses can be multicellular. Mosses can be multicellular. Hydra is multicellular. Some algae are also multicellular. So, this is not the correct answer. Since option B has all unicellular organisms, we can say that over there, growth and reproduction can be synonymous. So, the correct answer to this question is option B. Is that clear? I hope it's clear. Let's take a look at our next question. There are 4 statements given. And what do we have to do here? We have to identify which is the correct one. Most students make mistakes in such questions. Whenever you're in an anxious state, you're in the fear of appearing for the exam, you might not read the questions properly in that anxious state. That time you can read correct as incorrect or incorrect as correct. Whenever you're given the question paper and you're asked such questions, as soon as you see correct or incorrect, true or false, underline it so that it registers better in your brain and you will answer the correct question. Alright? So, first option here is, a multicellular organism grows by cell division. Yes, it does. In majority of higher animals and plants, growth and reproduction are mutually inclusive events. No, they are not. They are mutually exclusive. Mountains and boulders don't show intrinsic growth. There it is extrinsic. Non-living objects do not grow. Sometimes they are capable of growing. So, in the given options here, the correct answer is option A. Okay? Okay. I hope this is clear. Let's take a look at our next question. Shashank, you're asking how to prepare short notes. You can prepare short notes just like the notes I've made here in the form of points and flowcharts. Okay? What is reproduction? Reproduction is a characteristic of living organisms. It cannot be an inclusive defining characteristic of living organisms, occurs in all living organisms, both 1 and 2. What do you think is the correct answer? What do you think is the correct answer? Wonderful. Most of you are answering it as D. I'm very proud you've understood the concept very well. It is a characteristic of living organisms, but it is not a defining feature because not all organisms reproduce. So the correct answer to this question is option D. Are you getting clarity on what kind of questions you can expect from this chapter? Yes? All right. Yeah, this is very similar to another question that we discussed. In which of the following organisms reproduction is not synonymous with growth? in which organisms reproduction is not synonymous with growth? In bacteria, it is unicellular, it is synonymous. In unicellular algae, it is synonymous. In amoeba, which is unicellular, it's synonymous. Housefly, it is an insect, it is multicellular. So the correct answer to this question is D. Wonderful. Everyone is answering correctly. Okay. Brilliant, brilliant. Very nice. Okay. Which of the given is not an exclusive feature of living beings? It is not an exclusive feature of living beings. It's option C, growth, because growth can happen in non-living objects as well. Right? Consciousness, metabolism. Oh, wait. Reproduction, this happens only in living organisms. Growth can happen in living organisms. Extrinsic growth can happen in non-living things as well. All right? Little boy got an answer incorrectly for first time. Consciousness is only in living organisms. No, not in non-living things. Understood? Is there any doubt in this question? See, mistakes happen. You have to be careful. Little boy, what's your real name? Some of you are answering it as D. I don't know what is the confusion, but reproduction happens only in living organisms. I told you, right, this pen, even if I leave it in the same room for 500 years, I'm not going to get another one. All right. Now, let's move on to talk about diversity in the living world. What do we mean by diversity? We hear about diversity when we talk about our country, India, right? We say there's unity in diversity. Right now in the chat box, you can see there are people coming from different cultures. There are people from Tamil Nadu, there are people from Meghalaya and Assam, and I'm from Karnataka. You could be from Delhi. So, despite being so different, we all have unity. That is what unity in diversity means. So, diversity technically means variety, right? Many different kinds. So, what is biodiversity? Bio means living, diversity means variety. Biodiversity is diversity in living organisms, right? So, there are people from Pondicherry. I said Tamil Nadu. No, Pondicherry is in Tamil Nadu. Okay. Parveen is from Odisha. Orissa. Okay. So, there are people from Haryana. Brilliant, brilliant. So, there are people from every corner of India pretty much. So, that is diversity. Very similarly, you have so many different kinds of organisms, right? There are protists, there are unicellular bacteria, there's amoeba, there are so many thousands of types of plants, animals, microbes, all of that together is what we refer to as biodiversity, right? So there are a lot of species that are known and described. So far, the number of species that have been known and described ranges between 1.7 to 1.8 million. This is how much we know so far. But of course, there are millions of species that are deep inside the forest. We have not even discovered them. Okay? So, that is what we mean by diversity. All of them have different local names. I want you to pay attention. Okay, there's someone from Kerala also. Brilliant. Okay, fine. Now let's get to the point. There are different kinds of organisms in the world, but those organisms have been given local names. For example, let's consider dog. In Kannada, we call nai. Dog means nai. In Hindi, it could mean kutta. In Tamil, I don't know what it means. I don't know. I don't know any other language. So it means it's given different names in different regions. So what happens is it's not uniform throughout the world. If a researcher and scientist is doing some research about dogs and he has to communicate with somebody in Puducherry about his research, if they don't refer to it with a common name, communication itself will become very difficult, right? Also, another issue is there are some organisms that we cannot see with our naked eye, right? Laymen, they don't even give them names. They don't even have local names. And some organisms, for example, giraffe, you don't naturally find giraffe in our country, right? Giraffe is not native to our country. It's found in Africa. So we don't even have a name for giraffe in our local language. In Kannada, we call giraffe giraffe. That's it. So we do not have a separate name. So in order to, avoid confusion in the scientific community, it is very important to give names to every discovered living organism uniformly. So that that particular organism in any part of the world is addressed by that name itself. All right? Yeah, thank you for enlightening me. I learned 5 different ways to say dog in today's class. So, yeah, therefore, there is a need to standardize the naming of living organisms. What do we call that? We call that nomenclature. Nomenclature means giving names to these organisms. Nomenclature can be made possible only when the organism has been described correctly and identified. Only then we can give scientific names to that organism. Now, who decides how an organism should be named? There should be a specific set of rules and criteria that have to be considered while naming an organism, right? For example, today I was going on a walk. I accidentally discovered a new species of frog. I want to name it. I cannot call it Shalini's something, right? I cannot call it anything that I like. So if I have to give that organism a name, there will be a list of instructions and criteria that I will have to fulfill. Who decides all that? That is governed by International Code of Botanical Nomenclature. The rules are set by this. Okay? So ICBN, remember ICBN is short for International Code for Botanical Nomenclature. This is for plants. Similarly, for animals, it is by ICZN, which is International Code for Zoological Nomenclature. Right? These are things that you will have to remember, because based on this, we are going to solve a couple of questions going forward. Right? Now, let's move on. Yeah. So, how do we name living organisms? You know by now that we call scientifically, when we are naming living organisms, every organism should have 2 words. The 2 words naming system is called binomial nomenclature. We already know what nomenclature is. It is naming. Bi means 2. Nomial means again name or word. Okay, so within the name, there's going to be 2 words. Such a kind of naming is called binomial nomenclature, and it was proposed for the first time by Carolus Linnaeus, who is considered to be the father of taxonomy. While he published his books Species Plantarum about plants and Systema Naturae about animals, he first used this binomial nomenclature to give names to living organisms scientifically. Okay, so like I already mentioned, every name is going to have 2 words. The first word is your generic name. Okay, so the first word is your generic name, and the second word is your specific epithet. Of course, you're going to give 2 names. There are some other rules that you'll have to follow here. These names have to be derived from Latin. Why Latin? Why not Kannada? Why not Hindi? That could be a question that you will ask. Similar to how Sanskrita is not spoken in day-to-day life in India, right? It is an almost dead language. Latin is a fully dead language, you can say. Nobody converses in Latin anymore. Because nobody speaks in Latin anymore, the language is not evolving, the language is standard. Because we speak in Kannada, we still speak in Kannada, Tamil, Telugu, Tulu, whatever languages. Over time, it keeps on evolving. With time, English is also going to change and evolve. But that kind of evolution will not happen. That change will not happen in dead languages like Latin. So it's going to remain constant like that, which is why we have chosen Latin as the language, right? So these names have to be derived from Latin. For example, yes, Reddy Garu is saying Mango Mangifera indica. Very true. That is the scientific name. Even though the word is not taken from Latin, if it's from some other language, we still have to Latinize it. We cannot call it Mango India. We Latinize it and call it Mangifera indica, right? So, yeah, they have to be derived from Latin. This is an important point. Whenever we're printing these names, they have to be italicized. They have to be in italics. And whenever you're handwriting them, it has to be underlined separately. These are some points. The generic name will always start with a capital letter. start with a capital letter and the specific epithet will always start with a small letter. Alright, so these are some rules. Also, another point is you can add the author's name as an abbreviation at the end. For example, you can write Mangifera Indica Linn. That is the abbreviation of the author's name, right? Because I'm handwriting it, I'm underlining it separately. Arjun, yes, idella Kannada YouTube channel allu sigutte nimge. You can go check it out on the PW Kannada channel. Okay? So these are some of the rules of binomial nomenclature. Up until this point, is it clear? Okay. Now let's answer a few questions based on binomial nomenclature. Here is our first question. Read the statements A and B and choose the correct option. Statement A. Biodiversity represents the number and types of organisms present on Earth. Of course, it is true. I told you what diversity is. Tejaswini, class will be up until 2 o'clock, I think. What is the time now? It's 12:20 almost. Yeah. So, I think it will go on till that. Because this is a small chapter, it could get finished earlier also. I'm not very sure. Let's see how it goes. Why? You have any other important appointment? The second statement is the number of species that are known and described range between 1.7 to 1.8 million. Both of these are correct. And all of you answered it correctly. I'm very proud of you all. The correct answer to this question is option A. Alright, as you're answering these questions, side by side, make a note of how many you're getting correct, how many you're getting incorrectly. Alright? Of course, it is possible, Umar Jan. Of course, it is possible. But you'll have to work very, very, very hard. Next question. Find the incorrect statement with respect to nomenclature. What is incorrect? I told you, right? Whenever you come across words correct, incorrect, the first thing that you'll have to do is underline that word so that it registers properly in your head. Option A. The system of naming with two components is called binomial nomenclature. Yes, it is a correct statement. Biological names are generally in Latin. Yes, that is also true. Both words of the biological name, when handwritten, are underlined together. No, they are not underlined together. They are underlined separately. Okay? The genus name starts with a capital letter, whereas the specific epithet starts with a small letter. This is true. Over here, we are asked to find out which is incorrect. So, the correct answer to the question is option C. I can see majority of you have answered this correctly. Great going. I'm very proud of you all. Let's move on to our next question. Nomenclature is governed by certain universal rules. Which one of the following is contrary to the rules of nomenclature? Over here, they've used the word contrary. Contrary means which is not true. Okay, so you have to find out which is not correct according to the rules of nomenclature. First point, first option. When written by hand, the names have to be underlined. Yes. Option B, biological names can be written in any language. No, they can't. They have to be in Latin, or at least they have to be Latinized. First word represents genus. Second one is specific epithet. True. Names are written in Latin and italicized. That is also true. So, the incorrect one is option B. All of you have answered it correctly. Wonderful, guys. Let's move on to our next question now. Select the correctly written scientific name of mango, which was first described by Carolus Linnaeus. I will not be teaching taxonomic aids because it's not a part of your syllabus. This is correct, but there is a mistake in this. Can you tell me what is the mistake in this as well? It is correct but incorrect. Why is it incorrect? It is incorrect because it's typed here, but it is not in italics, right? That is a typing error that has happened. It should ideally be in italics, right? Okay, so the correct answer to this question is option B. Now, let's move on to our next question. Again, which of the following is against the rules of ICBN? You will get this question in your notes. You can answer. Okay, let's do it right now. Generic and specific names should be written starting with small letters. No. Handwritten scientific names should be underlined. Yes. Every species should have a generic and specific epithet. Yes. Scientific names are in Latin and should be italicized. Yes. So what is not true is option A. These are the kind of questions that you can expect from this particular concept. You've had enough practice now. Any question from binomial nomenclature, you should be able to get full 4 marks. Right? Now, here is the next question. The correct sequence in the biological name of an organism is author, citation, generic name, specific epithet. What is it correctly? Generic, specific, author. So the correct answer is option C. Jersey Devil, you're saying this is a useless chapter. Nothing is useless. Every line of NCERT you should know. If your aim is to get full marks, 720 on 720 or 180 marks in botany, then you should know every line of NCERT. If you don't know this chapter, then you can lose, it's possible for you to lose 4 or 5 marks, right? NCERT ko pad lena. Lousy World. What is your real name? Of course, Reddy Garu, if you follow the series, it's going to help you. We are going to cover the entire syllabus. You don't have to worry about that. But the thing is, you have to stay till the end. Whatever homework we give you, you have to do it. Aruna, I'm not going to give you the schedule verbally like this. You can check it in the community section of PW English channel. Over there, timetable, weekly timetable will be uploaded. It's not just about you, no. There are many people who are starting from scratch. So we have to cater to everybody. Don't worry. If you've already studied this 100, make it 101 time. You will definitely pick up 1 or 2 things from this session also. All right. Now let's move on. Scientific names of Ulothrix and flatworm have been standardized by. This is a tricky question. Do you know what Ulothrix is? Do you know what Ulothrix is? It is an alga. So it is a plant. Flatworm is an animal. So plant is ICBN, animal is ICZN. So the correct answer is option B. If you look here in option D, there is a very little mistake. Instead of ICBN, there is ICNB. If you're under stress while you're writing the exam, that might seem like the correct answer to you and you could end up marking that. All right. So, thank you, Anil. Thank you so much. So, you have to be very careful. You have to attempt the exam with a very calm state of mind. All right. Such questions, most students who've studied 100 times also, it is possible to make mistakes. Okay. Parveen, we're not able to see the leaderboard because today for some reason the polls are not working. That's why I'm telling you to keep a track of it yourself. Now let's move on to our next question. Each genus. Okay, so we'll study about this later. This question is not relevant here. I'll move this somewhere else. Just give me 1 minute. Okay. Any doubts so far? Any doubts so far? Okay, Anurag, this is a good start for you because for your 11th grade, the first chapter is going to be the living world only. Uh, Devil is asking, Devil, what is your real name? I really don't like to, address you as Devil. If you can tell me your real name, it would be great. PDF NCRT is enough. You should practice as many questions as possible. Practice, take a lot of mock tests. Great. Okay. Now let's move on. This is the next topic, and I think the final topic in this chapter. Okay. So what is taxonomy? You know, there are 1.7 to 1.8 million organisms. And if you have to study them, it's very important that you categorize them into convenient groups, right? For example, you go to a library. You know how neatly all the books are organized, right? So if you're somebody who uses makeup at home, or to all the girls I'm saying, you know how you organize your makeups. All your lipsticks go in one place, all your nail colors go in one place, all your makeup brushes go in one place. So that if you're organized it well, it's easier to find something that you're looking for. Enter a library. This is common to both your boys and girls. I do not know how many of you have really entered a real library in your life. But anyway, so if you go into library, you have different kinds of, what do we say, different places where you get different kinds of books. In one place, you might find academic related books, your textbooks and all of that. In another place, you might find fiction. In another place, you can find non-fiction. In fiction, you can find science fiction or fantasy and all of that. And you could find current events, current affairs, those kind of books in one place. You could find newspapers in one place, right? So, it is organized. Similarly, when we have to study living organisms, the number of species itself is running into millions, 1.7 to 1.8 million organisms. If such is the case, then it's imperative that we group them into convenient categories based on their similarities and differences. How we categorically group organisms is what we study about in taxonomy. So what is classification? Classification basically involves grouping of organisms, right? How do we group them? Based on how similar they are, how dissimilar they are. Whichever has more similarities, we put them into similar groups, right? So that is classification. So it is the branch of study. Okay, so what is taxonomy now? Taxonomy is the branch of study that deals with the principles and procedures of identification. What is identification? You found a plant, you do not know which species it belongs to, you have to identify that. You can do that by multiple ways, but taxonomic aids has gotten deleted now. Identification is important. You have to describe, identify it. Second, classification, nomenclature. These three are done in taxonomy. Identification, classification, nomenclature. Identification, I just told you. Classification, we just studied. Nomenclature, giving names, that also we finished. What are the principles that govern these three processes is what we study about in taxonomy. Along with this, if you include evolutionary relationships as well, evolutionary relationships or phylogeny, then we call it systematics. Systematics includes identification, classification, nomenclature along with the evolutionary relationships between organisms. If you're considering, then you can consider that as systematics. Akib Sheikh is from Lakshyaneet. Good afternoon. Welcome to today's session. Devil's name is Arnab. Okay, fine. It's easy to remember. Taxonomy Arthagila. Santosh has not understood. Okay. Taxonomy is one branch of biology which deals with classifying organisms, identifying organisms, giving names to organisms. While classifying organisms, if you're considering their evolutionary relationships as well, then you call it systematics. Characterization also. Characterization is basically kind of listing out the characteristics of the organism. I hope it is clear now. Santosh, have you understood? Khushbu Gupta is from Hindi medium. I hope it is clear. What I'm teaching is clear for you. Okay. Now, there are different categories. There are different categories I spoke about when we go to a library, right? So first you have fiction. That is one category. Within fiction, you have science fiction, you have fantasy. Within one category, you have two categories. Again, within science fiction, you have probably different languages. That is another category. Again, within that, you have different authors. That is a category. So, like that, while we are classifying, there will be more than one category. So, they are called taxonomic categories. Okay? So, every individual category or rank in taxonomy is called a taxon. Taxon is the unit of classification. Taxon is singular. Taxa is plural. Is that clear? Shri Kumar, from where can you get the notes you're asking? You can get the notes from the description of this video after this session is over. Probably after 1 or 2 hours, if you go and check the description, over there the PDF notes will be uploaded. Okay? I think I did, because I'm teaching in Kannada, Hindi, English simultaneously. Sometimes overlap happens. Parveen is asking why evolutionary relationship is important. Okay, so let's say you're trying to classify humans, gorilla, lion, tiger. We know that humans and gorilla evolved from a common ancestor, so we can group them together, right? If we have evolved from a common ancestor, it means that we are more similar. You cannot group human and tiger, lion and gorilla. They are not related, right? There are fewer common characters in comparison. So if you consider the evolutionary relationship, it will become easier for us to group organisms. I hope that clears your doubt. Okay. So in singular, we call it taxon, and plural form is taxa. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 such taxonomic categories. Okay. What are your 7 taxonomic categories? You have species. Species is the lowest category. On the other side, you have kingdom, which is the highest category. What does this mean? Similar species are grouped in the next category called genus. Similar genera, related genera are grouped in the next category, family. Similar families, related families are grouped in order. Related or similar orders are grouped in one class, related classes in phylum and kingdom. Okay? Up until this point, is it clear? Very important for you to remember the exact order of these categories. Alright? All of these taxonomic categories together is called the taxonomic hierarchy. It is called the taxonomic hierarchy. I'll give you a mnemonic that will help you remember all of these. Yes, Arhan has already posted it on the comment section. Yes, it is a trick that most of us already are aware of, but for those of you who don't know, I will write it down here so that you'll get it in your notes. Keep plates clean or family gets sick. This is the mnemonic that I give to my students. You can just remember that you don't wash your plates properly before eating. If your plates are not washed, if they are not clean, then because of contamination, whoever is eating, your family are eating from the plates, they can get sick, right? So different people have different ways of remembering this. So whatever works for you, you can keep it. For some of you who do not know any mnemonic and it's difficult for you to understand, you can use. There are a lot of people posting a lot of mnemonics regarding this on the comment section. Whichever works for you, whichever you can remember easily, you can pick that. Okay. So over here, kingdom is the highest category. Species is the lowest category. Keep, kingdom, plate, phylum. Phylum is for animals, division is for plants. Clean, class, or order, family, family. Gets, genera or genus. Sick, species. Is that clear? Yeah, Parveen, very smart of you. You can say plates and dishes because you'll remember both phylum and division in that case, right? All right. So, you will be asked questions like, identify the correct sequence of taxonomic categories in the ascending order or descending order. If you have to identify ascending and descending, you should know which is highest, which is least. In numbers, when we say descending, it is from highest to least. If we say ascending, it's from least to highest. Likewise, over here, kingdom is highest, species is least. So if they say descending, it's going to be from highest to least. This highest to least will be descending and least to highest will be ascending. Keep that in mind. As you move, okay Nida, welcome to the session. This is for 11th grade. I got your message. Please stop spamming. स्कूल से सीखा है Akib. So now over here, as you move from species to kingdom, there will be an increase in the number of organisms. How do we explain this? See, we consider humans. Human species, there is a set of individuals of humans. Right now, the world population is probably 8 billion plus, right? So, that is the species of humans. Like that, we have many species. So, if you consider an individual species, there is X number of individuals. As you move up to kingdom, the number of organisms will increase. Why is that? For example, consider kingdom Animalia. Kingdom Animalia has humans, of course, but along with us, there are a lot of other animals. Which other animals do we have? We have our invertebrates, poriferans, coelentrates, all your invertebrates and vertebrates, hemichordates, all of these together is your kingdom. Species is the smallest level that has the least number of organisms in comparison. When you go to the kingdom level, there you have highest number of organisms. Alright? So, Tejaswini, ignore, don't worry about it. Focus on the session. Soumya, yes, this is for NEET 2024. By the end of April, we'll be covering the syllabus. Alright? So, yeah, that is one thing you'll have to remember. As we move from species to kingdom, the number of organisms is going to show an increase. Now, as we move from kingdom to species, wait, one moment. As we move from species to kingdom again, there will be a decrease in similar characters. I'll explain this to you as well. Now, when we consider one species, this species could be, let's take for example, dog. All dogs of the same species will have similar characters. But if you consider family, along with dogs, there will be other organisms also. For example, dogs and wolves are probably in the same family. I'm not sure. Let's take something that okay, cats and lions are in the same family. Okay, though both of them are in the same family, there are fewer similarities between them. Highest number of similarities will be seen within organisms belonging to the same species. As you go up in the taxonomic categories, the number of similar characters will start coming down. Okay? Is that clear? As you move from species to kingdom, there's going to be a decrease in the number of similar characters. Let me know if all of this is clear. Is it clear? Just give me 1 minute. I'll drink some water and come. Sorry, I think I took a little more than 1-2 minutes. Anurag, what exactly do you want? What explanation do you want? Genetics, yeah, genetics is really interesting, especially those questions where you'll have to find out the offspring and all that. It's like you Sherlock Holmes, you're trying to find out something, right? Yes, Praveen, you're right. What difference should I explain, Anurag? Let me know quickly so we can move on. Okay, I don't see any response, so I'll continue. Evolution also, evolution, brilliant chapter, very interesting chapter. Okay, we have a lot of Praveens in the house today. Okay. So we'll just take a look at all of these categories one by one. Most students, what happens, no, they will read these taxonomy categories, they know the mnemonics, they know what is the correct order, they will think that is sufficient. But if you go on reading further in the NCERT textbook, you know that under each category there are a couple of examples given, and those examples are important because in the past we have seen questions being asked from those examples. All right. So hi Seth, welcome to today's lecture. So we have to focus on those examples as well. Now, the first lowest taxonomic category, like I already mentioned, is species. For example, Every organism will be one species. Okay. Mango, Mangifera indica. Potato, Solanum tuberosum. Lion, Panthera leo. Each species will have one binomial nomenclature, one scientific name. Now, over here, when we are saying species name, we never write indica alone. We never write tuberosum alone. Though we say species name or specific epithet, whenever you're referring to a species, you will always write the generic name along with the specific epithet. For example, here, Mangifera is the generic name, indica is the specific epithet. Solanum is the generic name, tuberosum is the specific epithet. Panthera is generic, leo is specific, right? Over here, you know that for every organism, every species, there's going to be one name only. Now, this genus can have more than one such specific epithets. Each one is going to be a different species. Let's take an example. Panthera. Panthera leo is lion. Panthera is the genus name, leo is the specific epithet. Panthera tigris, if you see here, this is the scientific name of tiger. Over here, Panthera genus is the same. The specific epithet is changed. It is possible for two organisms, two species to have the same generic name, but they should never have the same generic name and the specific epithet. Is this clear? Is this clear? Okay. Similarly, Solanum tuberosum is potato. Solanum nigrum, Solanum melongena, both of these are other species of Solanum genus. Solanum tuberosum is potato. Solanum nigrum is the nightshade. Solanum melongena is your brinjal plant. One genus can have more than one specific epithet, but they are different species. No two species can have the same generic name and the same specific epithet. Genus name can be the same, specific epithet will be different. Khushbu is asking me to explain it one more time. See, here for example, let's consider potato. Potato scientific name is Solanum tuberosum. Solanum is the genus name, tuberosum is the specific epithet. This is specific for potato plants alone. But if there are related plants, closely related plants, they can have the same generic name, but their specific epithet will be different. Solanum nigrum is the nightshade plant. Lycopersicum is tomato. Naja naja is cobra. Yeah, they all belong to Solanaceae family. Khushbu, is that clear? Now you will understand this when I move to the next slide. Taxonomic category, second one, genus. Whichever species are similar, they will have a common genus. Over here, the reason why Tigris and Leo have the same generic name is because they are related species. That's why they are grouped in the common genus. Genus means it is the name of a plant, Parveen. Okay. Genus means similar species will be grouped together. Okay. So it is a group of related species where it will have more characters in common comparison to species of other genera. Okay. Now, we can say that genera are aggregates of closely related species. Whenever species are closely related, you will have the same genus. You can group them in the same genus. Over here, because tiger and lion are similar, they are having similar name, Panthera. You don't have the same name for a dog or for a domestic cat, right? That is because they are not similar. Whenever similar species are there, they will have a common genus. Alright? Now, examples let's take. We just spoke about it. Genus Solanum. Under this, you have potato as well as brinjal. See how the generic name is the same. Potato Solanum tuberosum. Brinjal is Solanum melongena. Likewise, genus Panthera. Lion, tiger, leopard, all of them are closely related big cats. So they all share the same generic name. Panthera leo, Panthera pardus, Panthera tigris, all of these will have the same name. Similarly, Felis. Felis also is an animal. It is a small domestic cat. Here, genus Felis, cat is not included under Panthera. It has got a separate genus because they are not so closely related. Is this point clear? Now let's move on to the next taxonomic category, which is family. Family includes a group of related genera. Like I told in the beginning, as you move up the categories, the number of similar characters will keep going down. Okay, that I've already told you. How does one decide which all genera can go into the same family? That is decided on the basis of vegetative as well as reproductive features of the plant. Okay, let's take examples. Solanum, Petunia, Datura. All of them have similar features. All of them have the type of flowers there are, the type of anthers there are, all of those are very similar, which is why they are grouped under the same family, Solanaceae. Panthera and Felis. Big cats, small cats. They are similar, so they are grouped in the same family, Felidae. Likewise, dogs are very different from cats, so they are grouped in a different family, Canidae. Is this clear? These examples you have to remember. Nilna, what is your question? What characters are you asking about? I'm not sure. Could you please elaborate? Saif is getting confused in the genus name. It takes you a little bit of practice. Write all the examples in one page and revise frequently. You'll be able to get it. Yes, onion and garlic both belong to Liliaceae. Okay. Now let's move on. Order. Similar families are grouped in the order. What is this grouping based on? It is based on aggregates of characters. Among different families, how many common characters do they share? Based on that, you will group them into similar orders. Parveen's weakest chapter is morphology. Actually, morphology is a really interesting, very easy chapter. When we come to that, we will discuss that in detail and you will start loving it. One more thing I want to tell you all, as long as you're saying, I don't like this, this is something I hate, the chapter will not love you back. It has to be a two-way thing. You must read something with interest, with dedication, so that you get the same love from the subject. If you don't like it, the subject will not come to your head. Okay? Yes, we'll be covering the newly added families as well. Which question are you talking about, Fajat? Yeah, it has examples, but you can think about it like this. If you want to get NEET and become a doctor, you have to get good marks. To get good marks, that chapter is important. To get correct marks in that chapter, you have to remember the examples. So if you remember that, you're done with botany for life. You don't have to remember examples of plants anymore. In contrast, if you don't study that now, you'll get poor marks in NEET. What will happen? You will not get a medical seat. What will you do then? You will have to study something that you don't like. If you take a course that you don't like, then you'll have to suffer for much longer. Instead of that, suffer right now. Right? So that'll at least eliminate that subject from your future. Okay, Mohan did not understand the line. Genus comprises a group of related species which has more characters in common comparison to, okay, I'll explain that for you. Now, it is genus has related species grouped in it. That point is clear, right? Now, when we are comparing two species, let's say Panthera tigris, Panthera leo, and we'll compare Felis domestica. This is our domestic cat. Okay. More characters in common, comparison to species of other genera. These species belong to same genera. This one belongs to another genera, another genus. When you're comparing this and this, you're going to get more common characters because they belong to the same genus. When you're comparing any of this with this, then you're going to get fewer similar characters because that belongs to a different genus. Which it has more characters in common whenever they are of the same genus than when you're comparing it with another species belonging to a different genus. Is that clear? Praveen, when we come to that chapter, we'll give you all the relevant tricks. Right now, I can't give tricks for the entire syllabus, right? Right now, we are focusing on the living world. So, we'll study about this chapter wherever tricks are necessary for this. Wherever I can, wherever it's possible, I'm giving it to you. When we go to those chapters, we will focus on that. Okay? So, who had asked this question? Mohan had asked. Is your doubt clear, Mohan? Safina has a question. Yes, let's take it up. What is your question? Where were we? We were in order, right? So, similar characters compared to different genera included in a family, same thing you will have to apply. All right. Here, let's take the example. There are two families, Convolvulaceae and Solanaceae. They are included in an order called polynomials. Generally, in plants, order names will have a suffix of ales, A-L-E-S. And family will have a suffix of AC, like Anacardiaceae, Poaceae, like that. Okay? And Felidae and Canidae. This includes cats and dogs. This is included in a common order called Carnivora. These are some examples. Okay? The syllabus will be completed in April. Ravi? What is class? Class includes related orders. For example, the order Primata. Primata includes monkeys, gibbon, gorilla, humans, everything. This order, along with the order Carnivora, which includes dogs and cats, is grouped under the common class Mammalia based on certain characteristic features, right? And then we have phylum or division. Many classes come together to form a phylum. For example, fishes, amphibians, reptiles, birds, mammals, all of these are grouped under phylum Chordata. Under that, you will have subphylum Vertebrata, right? What is this based on? It is based on few common characters that you see in all these organisms, which is there is a notochord and a ventral nerve cord, all of that. You've learnt about this in animal kingdom, right? Again, you will learn about this in animal kingdom zoology class as well. Yeah, in case of plants, we don't call it phylum, we call it division. This is one thing that you will have to remember. Now, final highest category is kingdom. All animals belong to kingdom Animalia. Okay? Various phyla come together into animal kingdom. Likewise, we have plant kingdom for plants, animal kingdom for animals. You learn more about it in plant kingdom and animal kingdom chapter. Dogs and wolf come under the same genus. I'm not really sure about the generic name of wolves. Maybe after this class, you can do a Google search and find out about it. Ask questions only once. Okay, don't spam. It will disturb everyone in this class, including me. Namaskara Shivam ji. Yes, Paul, this batch is from the start. Is it clear so far? No problem, don't apologize. Insane 700, what is your name? Tell me what is your real name first. Okay. So at the end of this chapter, you have this table, which is important, very, very important. You have to remember all of these. Okay? Kishmar is asking, what about Katla Katla? They have the same name. I never said that they should not be the same. What I said was, for two species, the generic and the specific epithet cannot be the same. In animals, they're called, I think they're called tautonyms when you have the generic name and the specific name as the same word. That is allowed in ICZN, nomenclature of animals, but it's not allowed in plants. Naja, somebody pointed out in the beginning of the session. That also you can find in animals. Such names can be found in animals. Jersey Devil, wait, let me recollect your name. Your name is Arnab, right? So, what you have to do is, first of all, conceptual clarity. All the concepts you should have clarity. In biology, at least, there's a lot of memory-based things that you will have to remember. There are a lot of scientific names. So, you will have to make notes for that and keep on revising frequently. Then you have to practice a lot of questions, analyze the past year papers, take mock tests for the past year papers. Along with that, you will also have to take a lot of mock tests to get your highest possible marks. Insane 700's name is Imad. Okay, my name is Shalini. Yeah, you can do that as your homework, Roger. You can do that as your homework. Anurag, what are genetic names? I think you are meaning to say generic names, right? Genetic names. Yes, this is the last portion of the lesson, after which we'll be solving a few questions. And after that, if you have any other queries, then we can discuss that. All right. So here you have the taxonomic categories of 4 organisms, 2 plants and 2 animals. The 2 plants are mango and wheat. And you have man and housefly, which are the animals. Parveen, right now I do not know of any mnemonic to remember this, but I will try to come up with something. If I can come up with something, I'll make a short video and post it on the page, on the YouTube channel, in YouTube Shorts. Maybe you can take a look at it. Priya, it is enough. Along with the session, you have to practice a lot of questions. You have to take mock tests, give up all your distractions, social media, everything, and it is possible. No, Roger, it will not come. Technically, it should not come, but we can challenge it. If it's out of the syllabus, you should get grace marks. क्या शेयर करना है, क्या लाइक करना है? Okay. Safina is from Srinagar. Very nice. You know, there's a Srinagar in Bangalore also. प्रैक्टिस कहीं पे भी कर सकते हैं. बहुत सारे क्वेश्चन पेपर्स है, आपको ऑनलाइन पर फ्री पे मिल जाएगा. यू कैन प्रैक्टिस फ्रॉम देयर. Okay. Now let's move on. Man, what is the scientific name? Like I told you before, when we are talking about the species, you don't you don't write just the specific epithet. You have to write the generic name as well as the specific epithet. Man, it's Homo sapiens. Genus obviously is Homo. Family is Hominidae. Order is Primata. Class, Mammalia. Phylum or division, Chordata. Okay? Is that clear? Housefly. Housefly, Musca domestica is the scientific name. Genus is Musca. Family, Mucidae or Muscidae, however you want, you can pronounce it. Order, Diptera. Class, Insecta. Phylum or division, Arthropoda. Mango, Mangifera indica, Mangifera, Anacardiaceae, Sependales, Dicotyledonnae, Angiospermae. This is actually not very difficult. Okay, 1 or 2 times you write it down without looking at it, you will be able to remember. Yes, Praveen Raj, it's very important, which is why I've put like 100 stars here, not 100, maybe 6. Yeah, so that's why I've put stars here because it's very important. Now let's move on and answer the questions. We have almost reached the end of the session. We have a couple of questions, a lot of questions lined up. Is everyone ready to answer the questions? Let me know in the comments. Are you ready? Should we start solving the questions? Okay, let's start solving the questions. Here's our first question. Find out the missing category, species, genus, X, order, class. What should it be? X is family, that is option D. Hello Yashika, welcome to the class. Okay, most of you have answered it correctly. So the correct answer to this question is option D. Next question, each genus, option A, may have one or more than one specific epithet representing different organisms. Always have one specific epithet, always have multiple specific epithets, may have more than one specific epithet representing the same organism. What do you think is the correct answer? It can have one or more than one specific epithet for different organisms, right? We saw that with Panthera leo, Panthera tigris, same genus, different specific epithet representing different organisms. Always has one specific epithet? Not necessarily. Homo sapiens has only one specific epithet currently that are extant, currently existing on this planet. Only one specific epithet is there. But there are so many other genera that has more than one specific epithet. It's not necessary that these genus will have always one or more than one, right? May have more than one specific epithet representing the same organism? No. If it is different specific epithet, it cannot represent the same organism. So the correct answer to this question is option A. I think every one of you answered this question correctly. Brilliant, guys. So I want this energy, same enthusiasm till day 50. All right. Now, Arnab, for now we'll focus on these questions. In the end, we'll take up all your other questions and answer them. We can discuss them. Okay. Now let's take a look at this question. This can seem a little tricky for some of you. Consider the following taxa and select how many of them do not belong to the lowest category. How many of them are not species? Chili is a species. Lion is a species. Dicot is not a species. It is a class that includes many species. Animals, that is a kingdom, that is not species. Mango is species. Sweet potato is species. Polynomials is order. Cat is species. Consider the following taxa and select how many of them do not belong to the lowest category. Which ones do not belong to the lowest category? 1 and 2 and 3. So the correct answer to this question is option D. Most of you have answered it correctly as D. Some of you have answered it as C. C is 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. See, this is where I told you. If you read the question as how many of them belong to the species, belong to the lowest category, the answer that you will get is 5. But the question is how many do not belong to the lowest category. So the correct answer has to be 3. Right? Roger, is it clear? Yeah. Now let's take a look at this question. Which one of the following obligate category in taxonomic hierarchy will have maximum number of common characters? Which will have maximum number of common characters? Everyone's answering it as D. Are you just copying what another person is saying, or have you really understood this concept? Parveen or Praveen Raj is saying D for dog. Okay. Praveen Raj has understood. Arialin has understood. Shivam Pratiksha has understood. Okay, so the correct answer to this question is option D. Are there any confusions at all? Parveen thinks it's A. It's not A, it's D. The lowest category will have the maximum number of shared characters, similar characters. As you go up the taxonomic categories, it's going to reduce. This itself is like revision, right? Okay, now let's move on to this question. Which one of the following group of taxa does not represent similar category in hierarchy? Which one does not represent similar similar category in hierarchy? Potato, brinjal, tomato. All of them are species. Tiger, lion, leopard. 3 different species. Wheat, monocot, angiosperms. No. What is angiosperm? Angiosperm is division, right? Angiosperm is division. Monocot is class. Wheat is one species. So what is different here is option C. Majority of you answered it correctly. C for car, correct. So the correct answer is option C. Now let's move on. Select the incorrect match with respect to mango. I told you that that table is important, right? Tables, questions from that table can be asked. Why is Sakshi crying? Yeah. A for Andhra Pradesh, B for Bangalore, C for Chennai, D for Delhi. Yes, wheat is a monocot, which is incorrect. Family Anacardiaceae, yes. Order Sependaceae, no, it is not Sependaceae, it is Sependales. This is incorrect. Class Dicotyledonate, division Angiospermae, this is correct. What is incorrect is option B. D for Dholakpur. P for Pahalwanpur. Okay, I'll move on to the next question. No doubts there, I suppose. Choose the odd one out with respect to Panthera leo. It is a common name of tiger. Seriously. It is not the common name of tiger, it's the common name of lion. Panthera represents the generic name, yes it does. Leo represents a specific epithet, yes it does. Panthera represents higher level of taxon than Leo, yes it is correct. What is incorrect is option A. Very obvious, simple, direct question. Yes, A for Agra. Next question. Apple, red apple. Potato and brinjal belong to the genus Solanum, which reflects that. They belong to the single species? No. They are a group of related species? Yes. They both are morphologically and structurally similar to each other in all respects? No. There will be some dissimilarities as well. They can always produce a fertile hybrid. No, they can't. If they can produce a fertile hybrid, they should be of the same species. Because they are not able to produce a fertile hybrid, they are put into 2 different species, right? So the correct answer to this question is option B. You can use, I don't know if you have a tab or something which you can use, because this is going to be a lot of pages. I don't know if you can take a Xerox of that. B for, have you watched that? Banana, yellow banana, very sweet banana. B for that. Of course, you have to read all options, Parveen. It's very important to read all options. Priya, you don't have a lot of time for NEET. If you keep on writing all of these as notes again, that will consume a lot of time. Instead, you can use that for revision. Okay, let's move on. Dicots like mango, brinjal and monocot like wheat are placed under a common taxonomic category known as. Is it Arthropoda? Arthropoda is animal, no? It's not that. Who's going to tell me now? Phylum Angiospermae, division Angiospermae, class Angiospermae, what is the correct answer? Division Angiospermae, option C is the correct answer. Some of you are getting confused. Class is not Angiospermae. Monocotyledonate, dicotyledonate, that is the class. Okay, so the correct answer is option C. Now let's move on. Given organisms below belong to how many genera? Wheat, triticum, one genus. Brinjal potato, Solanum, second genus. Lion and tiger, Panthera, third genus. Dog is fourth genus. I don't know what is the scientific name honestly, but the correct answer to this question is 4, which is option C. Brilliant. Almost everyone have gotten it correctly. This time it's C for cap. Praveen, what did you not understand? Can you elaborate please? What should I explain? Here, this question itself. There are some organisms given here. We have to find out how many genera are there. For wheat, Triticum aestivum, one genus. Triticum is one genus. Brinjal potato, both of them are Solanum. Solanum melongena, Solanum tuberosa. Both of them are Solanum. So this question. Lion is Panthera. Tiger is Panthera. Panthera leo, Panthera tigris. So that. Dog, I don't know what is the scientific name, but I'm sure it's not any of these. So that is the fourth. Okay. Is that clear? All right. Now let's move on to our next question. The correct sequence of taxonomic categories. What do you think is the correct answer? Canidae is the family. Parveen, I'm asking about the generic name. Yes, option B is the correct answer. In some families, you have tribes, so you can ignore that. Such questions will not be asked in your syllabus. This is a little out of the syllabus, so you can ignore that. This time Anurag says it's B for bomb. That is a category of classification, like a subcategory you can say. Okay, now let's move on to our next question. The equivalent rank of carnivora in taxonomic categories of man and housefly respectively. Carnivora is what? Carnivora is an order. What is equivalent for it for man and housefly? What is the order of man? What is the order of housefly? Order of man is Primata. Order of housefly is Diptera. So the correct answer is option D. Probably 5-6 more questions are left for someone who's asking. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, probably 7. Let's take a look at this question. Which category comes after phylum in descending order in taxonomic hierarchy? After phylum in descending order, it is class, right? Keep plates clean, descending order. After phylum, it should be class. So the correct answer is option C. Here's our next question. Fishes, amphibians, reptiles, birds are kept in the same. What did we learn? Same class, chordata. Right? Okay, now let's move on. Which of the following pair is incorrectly matched? What is not correct? Mangifera indica is a species. Right? You tell me, I will not say it. Hominidae family. Diptera class. Gymnospermy is division. So the correct answer to this question is option C. Fill in the blanks and choose the correct option. Mango class, what is it? A. What is the class of mango? This is a very tricky question. Take your time and answer. It is dicotyledonate. So you can eliminate this option. What is the family of mango? What is the family of mango? It is not Solanaceae. So you can eliminate this option. What is C? Order of housefly. What is the order of housefly? Diptera. C is correct. So the correct answer to this question is option A. Right? Now let's move on to our next question. Mohan has to answer this question for me because he had asked a doubt about this question in the beginning of the session. Mohan, if you're still watching, I want you to answer this question correctly. Genus comprises a group of related species which have more characters common in comparison to species of other genera. So the correct answer to this question is option C. Mohan, did you answer? Are you there? Aryalin did not understand this question. I will explain. Let's take a couple of examples. Panthera, Leo, Panthera, Tigris, Felis domestica. This is lion, this is tiger, this is domestic cat. Lion and tiger have common or same generic name. Now let's read the statement again. Okay? Genus comprises a group of related species. Now in the genus Panthera, you have related species which are lion and tiger. Now these two species belonging to the same genus have more common characters. They have more similarities compared to a species from a different genus. Is that clear now? Doraemon, what are you, Nobita? We will not teach a chapter every day. Every day you will not have all subjects. Every day you will have 2 subjects. Today you have first slot. Right now we are doing botany. In the second half, in the evening 5 to 8, you will have physics. Like that, you will have different subjects on different days. The timetable of that you can find in the community post section of our YouTube channel. Okay? But for every session, there will be one chapter that we will be discussing. Is that clear? Okay, Aryalin has understood. Now let's move on to the next question. Solanum, Petunia, Datura are placed in the next highest category dash on the basis of dash characters. They all are grouped in, they all are different genera, they are grouped in Same family, which is Solanaceae, based on reproductive as well as vegetative characters. So the correct answer to this question is option B. Brilliant. Next question. Hominidae is equivalent to which category in taxonomic hierarchy of mango? What is Hominidae? Hominidae is the family of humans. What is the family of mango? Family of mango is Anacardiaceae. So the correct answer to this question is option C. There is some confusion between C and B. B is genus, not family. A is order. They've asked about family specifically, so the correct answer is option C. Here's our next question. The category with related orders is represented by. Related orders are grouped together under which category? Class, right? What do you think is the correct answer? Which among these are classes you have to identify? Hominidae, Arthropoda, is there any class in that? Which are the classes? Dicotyledonnae and monocotyledonnae. So the correct answer here is option C. Let's move on to our next question. Oh, we're done. We're done with the chapter. We're done with summarizing all the concepts as well as solving relevant questions. Have you kept any track of how many questions you answered correctly? What is OP? Okay, Praveen has got one question incorrectly. It's all right, happens. As long as you learn from it, it's okay. I'll create a strategy session to help you understand how to analyze your performance very soon. So, only 2 are wrong. Brilliant. How many questions did we solve totally? Totally we solved 16 or what? Okay, Arnab is asking what should someone who's doing 400 to 450 do? First of all, it matters, it differs from one person to another person. You could be scoring less marks, 400, 450, because of various reasons. For one person, probably they've skipped many chapters, they've not studied well, and those questions they're scoring less. Or they're trying to attempt, they have some confusion in some concepts, they think they know, but they're actually answering wrong. Or it could be various things. You should first identify why are you scoring low. If it is because of negative marking, what can you do about it? Is it specifically because of 1 or 2 subjects? Then what can you do about it? So each one of us have to identify where are we going wrong. That nobody can do for you. 2 people might be scoring the same marks, but the result of their marks could be because of different differences. Okay? So first you have to identify that. Praveen, from those questions, if you've learned something, then it's okay. Arilin, you'll get your notes very quickly. Thank you, Vimal, for staying till the end. Arnab, if you have a doubt, I mean, you first find out what is the issue. Is it any particular subject? Is it any particular concept? If you figure that out, whichever concept you have confusion in, you can come and attend those lectures. But don't forget to take mock tests and practice a lot of questions. Okay? So with this, we are done with today's session. Dr. Strange, you're very late. We are almost done. Then avoid negative marking. Don't unnecessarily answer questions if you're not sure of it. Thank you so much, Khushi. It means so much. Cairo is saying, you just came, it's all right. This live lecture will still be available on YouTube. You can watch it at whatever pace you want. You want to increase the speed, you can increase the speed and watch. Decrease the speed, you can decrease the speed and watch. So you can watch it again. So thank you very much for all of you who started watching this session from the beginning and watched it till the end. That just shows your dedication and commitment to your goal. I want to see the same number of students. I remember all your names, and I will want to see you on the 50th day as well with the same enthusiasm and with the same level of interest. All right. So with this, I'm going to sign off from today's session. Thank you very much. All the very best. Don't give up. If you want to give up something right now, give up on your distractions, let go of that social media, delete every Snapchat, Instagram, Twitter account, and that will take you 10 steps ahead towards your goal. All right, I'll see you again very soon in the next lecture. Until then, take care of yourself, stay healthy, stay happy, keep smiling. Bye bye.